Hey Sid, how you doing?
Good, Ming. How are you?
I'm good. I've got some questions for you today. So I
Mhm.
know you've been a consultant for many years. How many years has it been now?
That. Of over 30 years.
Over 30
Well,
years.
over 30 years in business, about 20 years in consulting. My
Mm,
prior experience was, as you remember, consulting or with corporate, organizations, top 50 businesses, doing manufacturing, doing retail, doing business finance, yada, yada, yada. So in the consulting, about 20 years of consulting.
amazing. Yeah, and so I've been having some conversations with my friends. As you know, I'm living in London and I've got a lot of young friends who are entrepreneurs trying to do some things. And we have a few questions about what to do in order to survive the upcoming financial crisis.
Ah,
And I know that it's going to be a lot worse in the UK than it is in America. So just wanted to pop some questions at you as to what we can do to survive. The first question being just what kind of mindset should we be going into the recession with? Is it as scary as it seems? Are we really
mhm.
going to, have no electricity and our business is going to fail as the same rate as the 2008 crash? What does it look like on your side? Is it as dire as the media is saying?
All right. Well, first, I'm going to qualify my response with, and you're familiar with this. I've got an academic background as an adjunct professor, a corporate background, through corporate leadership and senior leadership, but also kind of the entrepreneurial background through owning businesses and starting businesses, et cetera. So, there'll be times where I'll get a bit technical academic, but I'm going to try and keep bringing it back to the practical. Here's how you do it. And in the U.S., well, let's first take a step back. A recession, as folks keep talking about, are we going to be in a recession? Do we have a recession? Is it a recession? That's a technical definition, that economists will, kind of differ on. I'm not an economist, but I'm going to use the definition of basically it's a business crisis. That a recession is just another form of a business crisis. And therefore we can look at it. What do you do in a crisis? For the U.S., the recession or the economic downturn is probably not going to be as significant, as great as it might be in other markets or countries, based on where our economy is right now. Doesn't mean we're not going to have it. And for those folks who might be listening, or some of your friends that might be talking to you, may be in the U.S. and are experiencing some of the same things. When you are in a crisis, all crisis is about an end of something and a beginning of something. An end of something that is, and a beginning of something that's new. And so with that comes a lot of human emotion around that. So how you deal with a crisis may be different than how I deal with a crisis. Do you, based on your personality, based on your paradigm, the way you see things, will have an impact on how you're going to deal with it and what approaches that you take. So are you one that sees a crisis as a problem or sees it as an opportunity? Are you the kind that wants to fight it, or run away from it and flight? So those are some of the personality kind of paradigm perspectives of how folks are going to deal with it. But in general, crises bring about a lot of uncertainty and therefore fear, anxiety. Folks get anxious about it. There's some question about can I even survive this thing? So hopelessness or helplessness, it's out of my control, etc. So all those human emotions get in the middle of that as well. That will then impact what people do and how they do it. So should you be afraid? Probably not. Most things are never as dire as they're presented, especially within media, who has a benefit from getting people hyped up on things. But it's something we should always, any crisis, we should be focused on understanding, and then looking to how we're going to deal with this, how we're going to navigate it, what strategies will we use, to, not only from my perspective, not only survive it, but to thrive through it.
Yeah, I really like that. The last part you said as well, like the surviving and thriving. So I'll give you an example. I think in terms of whether of my friends are the types of people to like jump into this as an opportunity or like see this and get kind of afraid, I think like I've definitely got a mix of both. Especially for the friends with companies that they're just starting and a lot of friends who are like more in tech. We had like the huge kind of raise in like finances for Web3 companies. We had like a lot of like hype and excitement around that kind of like ended at the end of the first part of the hype cycle, I guess, the Gartner hype cycle. And kind of those friends in tech, beginning businesses, I'd say they're more running away from things now. The friends that are more in like businesses that are brick and mortar, I think they're kind of trying to figure out new ways to thrive and like trying to think of creative solutions. So for the friends who have businesses just starting out, what would you say to them in terms of thriving versus surviving?
Well, typically, folks are going to use one of three strategies, and that's with every crisis. And so I'll apply it here as well. One is a wait and see. Let's just wait, see what happens. Maybe this won't be as bad. Maybe it'll all blow over. Let me stick my head in the sand until this is done, and then I'll come back out, and everything will be the same as it was before. And Now, for some businesses, as you mentioned, recessions are not a big deal because of the kind of business that they're in. They're going to always be needed. That could be an auto parts store. People are going to always do repair, and maybe even a recession, people might do more auto repair versus new auto purchase, right? So an auto parts store is going to always do okay. An auto repair store, maybe not as much, because maybe people decide I'm going to do it myself versus take it to some mechanic to do. But the auto parts store is going to sell it no matter whether you're doing it yourself or you're taking it to a store or a mechanic. There are other businesses like that. It's like, look, we're not going to be impacted as much. And some of them are tempted to just say, let's wait and see, or let me just keep going about my business, etc. I never, ever suggest in my consulting and coaching, even for those businesses that aren't impacted by recession, to ever take a wait and see approach or strategy. I just don't believe in using it, because even if my business isn't going to be impacted by it, my customers are. And so their mindset is already in this recession, economic downturn perspective. And I can use that as a way of engaging them more with my business, or getting them to be more involved with my business. I may be able to sell more products and services, et cetera, based on how I modify my offer and my perspective, et cetera, the benefits that I add, or the marketing messaging that I do. So I always suggest folks never, ever, ever use that strategy, even if my business in and of itself is not impacted by recession. The other two are the
sorry, just to kind of like, before we move on from that point, when do you think is a good time to start looking for strategies to thrive during this process? Like, when in a recession, is it like after it's officially announced, or is it after like you start business declining that you're like, oh no,
now you got the spoiler alert.
Oh no.
Spoiler alert. Those who like a good mystery and can't, who want to wait to the end to hear the moral of the story,
Close your ears.
don't listen. Yeah, plug your ears right now. Don't listen. You should always use Thrive strategies before, during, and after any kind of business economic crisis. And in fact, it's what keeps you from getting strongly or deeply impacted by whatever crisis might be going on. You built the muscle memory from a physical therapy, perspective. You've built the muscle memory to know how to, perform, navigate all of these waters well before you ever get into those waters. So that's the spoiler alert piece to it.
That reminds me of something. So I've been doing like one of them Coursera courses on consulting, and it says like most people in businesses who don't thrive in this context don't thrive. But I think the word that they use is just like kind of die, like the Kodaks of the world. Those companies spend most of the time concentrating on operations, and then like maybe 20% of the time on like looking around and seeing like what else can we do. Whereas like the companies that really thrive are the companies that use 20% of the time to like use. So if I'm the CEO, for example, I'll use 20% of my time to make sure that the operation is running fine. And then I'll use 80% of my time to go out and see how to make my company like make more money in other places. Is that like something that you agree with?
So,
Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, so I would put it similarly, but slightly different. Not that mine's right and yours wrong, or it's just the way that I kind of couch it. In the dive, survive, and thrive. So those who wait and see dive. Their sales always dive or die or decline, etc. I call defensive strategies, those that you were talking about before, those who survive. It's the hunker down, let's ride this out mentality. So we're going to hunker down. We're going to, kind of bring everything into the fold. Often it's a back to basics, kind of approach. We're going to focus on the basic fundamental things of business, which are usually operations. And we're going to look at how we can reduce costs, reduce expenses, keep capital, profits, money, in the business as long as possible, so that when we come out this other end, we can do some things with it. So it's like, in an investing standpoint, it's like the friend who puts the money in CDs, or money markets, rather than in the stock market, or in high growth stocks, etc. It's like,
I think we must have different terms for these things. What's a CD? You don't mean like the disc that you listen to music?
Right. Yeah. No, certificate of deposits. So it's like a money market. It's a financial instrument that gives very small amounts of return. Or interest, on it. So it might give
low risk, low reward.
What's that?
Low risk, low reward.
Low risk, low reward. So folks who are going to use defensive strategies are really using that. I don't want to take any risk right here, but I'm not going to get any reward out of it. So it's more of a focus on efficiency, and efficiency is always about doing things the right way. Versus effectiveness, which is doing the right thing.
Do you think there's like a personality trait that we could kind of label this as, like, people who are more open to change, like their personalities are more, extroverted? Are they also more likely to be the ones who are out there taking more risk because of that personality?
The easiest way is probably conservative or aggressive, so conservative minded people, and not the political term conservative, but conservative minded people are going to be more risk averse, and therefore a little bit shyer, and like, let's take care of this. I want to make sure I have my business when we come out the other end. So let's just look at things that we can do to, make things a little more efficient, keep money, not do too much harm. But in the meantime, they will do things that are good for the business. So ultimately, the things that they're doing are good for the business. They're managing their vendors to reduce the cost of raw materials. Because, recession, inflation, prices are going to go up. Hey, I'm going to work with my vendors. Maybe I'm going to cut out some of my vendors and get better terms from them, or get better pricing from them. I could also work with those vendors to get better terms. Hey, instead of paying net 30 or net 20, how about if you give me net 45 or net 60? Meaning that I won't have to pay my bill for another 45 days from the time you invoice it, or another 60 days from the time you invoice it. That's all good stuff from my business perspective, maybe not for your business as the one who's selling me stuff. They reduce inventories. So I'm going to reduce my raw materials inventories. I'm going to reduce my work in process inventories. I'm going to reduce my finished goods inventories. So I'm not tying up so much in capital. That's a good thing for business. But they do that because, oh, it's a recession. I need to hold on to capital and cash as much as possible in case things get bad or whatever, because I'm not bringing as much in at the front end. Well, you should have always been doing that. Why are you waiting to, a recession to make that happen? They do things like reduce labor costs. Sometimes that's not productive because they will reduce labor. They get rid of folks. Why? Because that's the easiest, quickest thing to do that is tangible and seeable. So everybody knows when there's few folks here. The money comes off of the books, off of the expense rolls right away. But now you don't have staff to do the work, and especially when volume picks up, or you got to go back out and rehire and retrain folks. So that's not always a great strategy. Another one that they often do is discount. Oh, we're not getting as much sales, so let's slash our prices. I never. Okay, never's a long time, but
that's a big statement.
I can't think of a time in any of my coaching and consulting where I ever recommend discounting a product or service, the price on a product or service. I think it's a horribly bad, never used pricing strategy. And I'm going to get a lot of marketing folks who are going to, see this and go, oh, he's wrong. I can give you a million, examples in real life of why that doesn't work. But here's just to understand, it's the easiest strategy to replicate. So if I have a business right across the street from yours and we do the same thing and I lower my price and you see people flocking into my store, what are you going to do? You're going to lower your price. And I'm going to say, now they're going to come from my store over to your store. And I see that. And so what am I going to do? I'm going to lower my price some more. It becomes a death spiral.
Yeah.
That it never, nobody ever wins on that. Not even the customer, because the customer will win for a while until both of us are out of business. And then they can't get the goods or services that they were getting from us before. So it's just never a winning strategy. But these are all the kinds of things that businesses will do in this defensive approach mode, this defensive strategies. Let's hunker down. Let's just reduce costs and expenses and hold tight until the environment is better. Most of them are not bad for the business, but they should always be being done, not only being done in these times of, kind of crisis or stress or strife, economically, which is why I say they're more of a back to basics, kind of approach, because these are basic things you should be doing anyway. You got away from them because, life was good. We were all, living the life of Riley with, sales coming in and money aflush. And then now it's not that way. And we want to, let's go back to the things we were doing before that got us, good results.
I mean, okay. So earlier you said marketers are going to challenge you for saying there's never a good time to decrease prices. As someone who's worked in marketing myself, I would like to challenge that. So especially during a recession, actually, and I would love to hear your opinion on this. There's a lot of talk of being a loss leader. So having a competitively cheap product, so just one product in your store, lowering that to as much as possible, definitely making a loss from it, in order to attract the attention of passerbys on the streets, your current customers that maybe wouldn't usually set foot into your store, or if it's on the internet, onto your website, for them to go on this store and then look around and buy other things. So what you're making the money from that is obviously, well, first of all, during recessions are the times when people are going to be most likely to break their habits, because humans are habitual. We like to go to buy bread where we normally like to go to buy bread. We like to buy clothes from blah, blah, blah. So during a recession, people are going to be starting to think about the price of their goods, because a lot of the times the prices of the things that they normally buy, they're going to be increasing. So if you could be a loss leader in something that they usually buy, say toilet paper, and then you start selling really cheap toilet paper compared to anyone else, and then people come to you, and then as they're buying toilet paper, they're like, oh wait, actually this guy sells really good water bottles and this and this and this. What about that as a loss leader? Would you still not recommend that?
So that's the approach used by grocery stores, and I've had a couple clients, who were retailers, grocery store, retailers, food retailers. Grocery stores have a 2% margin, 1 to 2% margin, very tight margins. So it's obviously not working that great for them because, a great business is going to have anywhere from 10 to 15. If you can get north of 15% margins, then great, net margins. But think about it this way, just from a practical standpoint. You're using toilet paper as your loss leader. I'm using milk as my loss leader. Do I get more or less than you?
No.
So it becomes one of those things that says, look, I may do toilet paper also, or I may let you have toilet paper as your loss leader. I do it on milk, or I do it on bread, or I do it on whatever, cleaning supplies, et cetera, et cetera.
Do you think
We're
people are,
basically, go ahead.
I was going to say, do you think people are diligent enough to be like, oh, this guy sells the cheapest milk, this person sells the cheapest bread, this person sells the cheapest toilet paper, and then go to 3 separate places? Because I reckon people are just very lazy, aren't they?
Yeah, so this is the point I was really going to get to. There's a difference between competing on price versus discounting. It is a great strategy to be a price leader. Which means I've set up my entire system, my business model around having the lowest price. That's a Walmart kind of strategy. I can dominate the market, because of my size or sometimes it's technical expertise to get the lowest price on things and then deliver that out. Kmart, versus a Macy's. They're both department stores. Kmart, used to compete on price. Macy's on service. So I can compete on price, I can compete on service, I can compete on product. I can choose that and whichever one it's going to be. A person who is price conscious, I am a person personally who, I buy on price. I'm not the first mover. So when something comes out as a new technology, I'm not that guy. I'm not the one who goes out and get it right away. It's like, oh, I got to have this thing. I'm the one that when it's getting ready to be the last thing on the technological scale, I'm going, okay, I'll finally buy one. And who sells it the cheapest, right?
Yeah.
I have my stores where I go to buy bread. I have my stores where I go to buy, milk, soda, whatever. I have my stores that I go to buy everything else because they're far enough away that it's inconvenient, but I can get the majority of things at a lower price than I can at the other stores that are closer for these things. So, but that's because I'm a price sensitive shopper. I will do that stuff. So I can create my business around that person. Then I'm competing on price, but I will never get the person who wants the highest quality goods or the widest choices. So I've got to determine which way I'm competing and then set up my entire business model around that. My branding then has to be consistent with that. All aspects of my branding, my message, who I'm targeting, the medium I use, the pricing that I have for goods and services, the strategies that I use against my competitors, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's just, it also from a perspective of devaluing or not valuing your product or service. That I often use the example of pizza, that almost no one buys pizza at full price, at least not in the U.S. Because they say I can always get 2 for $5, 3 for blah, 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 blah.
I mean, you guys have dollar slices.
What's that?
You have dollar slices.
Dollar slices in New York, yeah, because in New York City especially, there's a pizza shop on every corner, and so it's a dollar slice, or $3, for a slice and a drink, or 2 slices and a drink, or something like that.
Unless it's on a night
Crazy
out.
stuff.
I went on a night out in New York, and I think I paid like $8 for a slice of pizza. But it was like 3 a.m.
Because they knew their market, right?
Yeah.
They said, look, anybody who's out at this time and hungry, they don't care about price.
And I think it was the best pizza I've ever eaten. I honestly have to say.
Well, because you were hungry and it was 3 a.m.
Pizza just tastes so much better when you're drunk. It's just science.
There you go.
It's not science I understand, but it's definitely true.
So from that perspective, that's what I'm saying. It's not a strategy that I would ever recommend and use, and it has so many downsides. And I could go through the math of it as well. That The most efficient way to increase profitability are two categories: pricing and expenses, right? So if I increase my price by $1, it's 100% flow through. If I reduce my cost or expense by $1, it's 100% flow through. So to the bottom line. So it always behooves me to increase pricing, reduce costs, not the other reverse. For every dollar of price reduction, no, I shouldn't say that. Let's go on percentage. I think for about every 10% I reduce pricing and keep all cost structure the same, I think it's about 33% more that I have to sell to end up with the same profit in dollars, actual dollars. That's how big that impact is.
Wow.
So it just becomes a thing that's saying, look, do I really think by lowering my loss leader to X, Y, and Z that I'm going to bring in that much more business? And if not, why am I doing it? In the meantime, I've created a perspective in my customer's mind that says, well, if you can sell it for that cheap now, are you just ripping me off these other times? Because I really don't think you're losing money on this. So what's the story? What's the deal?
So then,
And you want to always value your product, your service. That no matter whether you're competing on price and you're the lowest price out there, you still want to say, look, I'm giving you value, and value people are worth or are willing to pay for.
and then with that, so some of my friends, for example, they haven't built their businesses on this aggressive like thrive tactic, and they haven't built their systems and like refined their operations to be optimum for like competing on anything like spectacular. So they've really been in the survive mindset, right, throughout their business journey, and now they're at a point where like if they switch to something survive, that would be a lot of risk. That would be a lot of, kind of undoing what they've had to do before, maybe getting a consultant in, and then maybe trying to really go from ground zero and build themselves back again. Is this a good time to do that? Is that what you're kind of recommending?
So good strategies are always good, no matter what the environment is, right? So it's like good practice, good process. When's the time to exercise? When you're, overweight, or when you are young and in good health? And you'd say both, right?
Yeah.
It's always good to exercise. It's the same thing here. When's a good time to get your business in shape? Always. And so if you're not there, it's not too late. Here are the things you need to do. If you're just starting, it's not too early. Here's the processes and systems that you set up to make sure that you start off, working well. If you're in the middle of it and it's not that way, it's not too late. You make the adjustments and you make the changes. So aggressive strategies versus the defensive strategies are kind of the let's take advantage of this. We have an opportunity, kind of approach. It usually is about expansion. It's about growth. It's a focus on, again, as I said before, it's a focus on effectiveness, which is let's do the right things versus doing the things right. So we're not going to focus, just on process. We're going to focus, are we doing the right thing? Is this the right thing to be doing for the business, for our goals, for our mission, et cetera, et cetera? And then we're going to make sure we're doing it efficiently, but not just about being efficient, doing the wrong thing. We're going to be efficient doing the right thing. And you mentioned the 80, you mentioned the 80-20 rule before, right? So Pareto rule, Pareto theorem, all that kind of good stuff. That says, basically we spend 80% of our time on things that generate 20% of the results, and 20% of our time on things that generate 80% of the results. In business, the spending 80% of our time on things that get us 20% of the results, the outcome, the revenue, the profit, I call that rat killing and firefighting. We're spending all of our day killing rats and fighting fires. It may be important to kill rats and not have them around, to fight fires and not have them around, but it has nothing to do with growth and expansion. It's about really survival, et cetera. So there are going to be people you need to have in your business. There's going to be time that you need to spend on your business on those operational efficiency kinds of things, the rat killing and the firefighting. But as a business head, business leader, and if you're focused on growth, you need to spend the 80% of your time, the 20% of your time on the 80 that gets you the 80% results and outcomes. So if I know that these activities get me 80% results, I need to be spending my time on those 20%, because that's what's going to get us growth. That's the difference between working in your business on the 80% and working on your business, the 20%. And so what are those things? They're not, generically, they're in these 5 categories. There's 5 categories that 20% of the activity, or that comprise these 20% activities that generate 80% of profit. More leads, more conversion of those leads, more transactions of those conversions, a higher pricing, for each of those transactions, and reduce costs to generate more profits. All right. So it's how do we get more people interested, more prospects, more possibilities of sales, for our organization. And there are specific strategies within that category. When we get somebody who's interested, I might consider that. How do we convert them to a paying customer? And that's what conversions are. We converted you from a prospect to a customer. And there are specific strategies and processes around that. Once they are a customer, how do we get them to do more transactions with us? The cross-selling, the upselling, the cross promotions, and all of those kinds of things. There are specific strategies and processes around that. Higher pricing, which really starts at, are you providing value? And are you promoting that value? And if so, then folks will be willing to pay a higher price because you're solving a problem for them. If you aren't solving a problem, then you are just competing on price, whether you want to or not, because all they're going to say is there's no difference between you and, Acme Chemical over here. And so just tell me which one are you going to give me the cheapest. Whoever gives it to me the cheapest, I'll go with it. And then, more profits is really about, okay, we've got all these revenues coming in. How do we reduce our expenses, be as efficient with those revenues as possible so that more comes out at the bottom, in net income or net profits? That's where I spend my time with my clients, on understanding those 5 categories and all of the processes and systems that are within that, so that they can grow, that they can thrive. And we should be doing these things all the time. So again, it's like exercise. It's not only, when we get old, should we be doing stretches and exercising. It's not only when we're young, when we feel fit, that it's all of the time. And regardless of where we are right now, we start and do, what we can to get more and more fit so that we can thrive more and more and more. Same thing with a business. Regardless of where you are right now, regardless, you start doing the things that are going to, make you grow. If you are focused on these things, these 5 categories in your business, you can double your profits in a matter of 6 months. You can triple your sales and revenues definitely within a year.
Wow.
It is that
You heard
impactful.
it here first, folks.
Yeah, it's that impactful. It's that impactful.
Is this your 5 points, or is it like a general theory that
This is I remember I talked with you once about true with a capital T or true with a small t.
Oh yeah.
This is one of the and you can explain that to your audience, we can explain it another time.
I think I can try and explain it quickly. So anything with a capital T is like a fundamental truth that is true no matter what. And then small t is just it's the truth, winky face. I am human. Am I really? Who knows? That would be like a small t.
Well, I would put it a little different. It's situational. So true with a small t is situational. It's true for this situation. It's just not true for that situation.
It's true while I'm still alive.
Yeah. So that's it. So these things are true with a capital T, meaning this is just how business works. You can't get profit any other way than this. So I defy anyone to go through and go, oh yes, you can, and I'll guarantee you will fit in one of these 5 categories.
Yeah, I'd really like to kind of run through this theory through like filter it into some solid scenarios. So the first one, maybe I'll do like three scenarios, one with a company that is very elastic. So something that's like a luxury product, and then maybe one that's like a food product. I don't know if we've got time for three, so let's just stick with the two. And then could you kind of walk me through what you would do if you were my friends who run these businesses? Because I loved like all of the theories that we've been like talking about so far, but like from what I'm hearing you say every business right now needs a consultant, which like I kind of agree on. I think all businesses always need a consultant in the same way
Well,
every human
I'm gonna take a step
always
back from
needs
that.
a mentor.
Yeah, I'm
But
gonna take a
like,
step back from that. Not all businesses need a coach or consultant. All businesses need to do these things. If you can do these things on your own, great.
right,
Keep
okay.
doing those things.
But in
If
a
you
way that's like
can't,
you're
then
your
you
own
need a
company's
mentor, a
consultant.
consultant, or coach, someone who
Mm.
can help navigate you through, the process to get to that point.
Okay, so like a small c consultant, like consultancy as a vibe, consultancy as a mindset, rather than consultancy as like an
Okay.
external
All right.
role. How's that?
That's good.
Okay, so every company needs like a small c consultant. If you're a company that doesn't have necessarily like, so okay, let's start with my example. You're a company that sells luxury perfumes, like super expensive. And actually, no, let's do a tech company because tech companies are really failing at the moment. So you're a company that sells really high quality tech software, but then suddenly with all of this kind of financial crises happening, you as the CEO, you're like super worried about like if your clients are going to use you or they're going to go back to what they were using before, which is a similar software to yours. Maybe it's like less speedy and it doesn't have the same quality of service. Maybe you offer, for example, one of your people to go to their office to like fix their servers or whatever, and like other companies don't do that, but that's like something that they could do in-house if they needed to. So you offer all of these things beyond the bare minimum. It's what people want, but it's not what people like necessarily need. And now you're wondering if people are still going to stick to business. What would you recommend using kind of like the thrive strategy for them now? So you're the CEO and you spend most of your time on just running the operations. That's your 80%.
Okay. So the first thing I do anytime I'm working with a company, an organization, an individual who's getting ready to start something up, I first want to understand why, what's their mission, why they've chosen that mission, what they feel that they're good at, different than everyone else, and what is it that they think they're good at better than everyone else that is important to their target market, their clients, their customers, their prospects. And from that perspective, most people always give me the same, oh, we've got some of the best people. We got the most talented people. Oh, our pricing is lower than everybody else's. Oh, and we've been in the business for 30 years or then, oh, it's something that's, look, everybody can say that. And if everybody can say it, then you saying it doesn't really offer any benefit or value. But what you need to look at is the pain points that your target market has. And I always, other folks talk about it too, but I talk about everyone has going through their head, and therefore every business has going through their kind of decision-making process. One or two of these two questions or pain points. One, they have some problem that they have that they don't want. And they have some benefit that they want that they don't have. And that consumes them. And so what you want to understand is, well, what makes me different relative to everyone else in resolving either or both of those two pain points? Because now I'm offering value. This is how I help solve your problem. So if your problem as that, business is, every time we pick somebody to do, our development, our site development, our software planning, our networking, program, you just can't trust them, whatever that is, you find out within that target, one, what you're good at and what are the problems that they're dealing with that they want to get rid of, or what is it, the benefit that they want that they don't have. and you start messaging to that just says, here's how we solve that problem. Here's why I'm different than everyone else. And that's going, and you do that in lots of different ways and lots of different places, but you're targeting it. You don't want to be the developer for everyone. And that's often what happens, especially with small businesses, solopreneurs, et cetera. We want to say, oh, I can do it for anybody. I can do it for everybody. And that most times makes people feel like, you can't do it for me then. So I really want to know you can do it for me. And so we have to hone in on that and target in on what are your issues and how am I different and unique that will solve that problem. And then the person says, you get me, you understand, you know what I'm dealing with. And now I'll listen to your solutions. Now you can give me an offer because I say, you get it, you understand, and I'm willing to listen a little bit more. Now, it's also not going to be about pricing in most cases, because it's like, whoa, nobody's doing that. Nobody's solving that problem for me, or else I wouldn't have this problem, right? So if you're going to solve that problem, then it's not about price. It's really about competency. And I'm going to look for ways that, you're going to prove or give credibility to your competency for doing that. But once I make the decision, you're the one, then it's not about price. Yes, I want a good price, want a fair price, but people will often pay more than you think for things and services because they're like, I don't have to deal with that problem anymore. That's just one less thing in my life that I need to deal with. And as a business owner, we can all kind of talk to that. It's like, I don't have to deal with that anymore. Okay, that's done. I can move aside. It may have been the most trivial thing in the scheme of things, but it always created agita for us. It always created some angst, and we just don't want to deal with that anymore. And so we'll pay. I got a brother who will do all kinds of things that are inefficient, ineffective, because he just says, but I don't have to deal with it. Now, I wouldn't do that. That wasn't my way. But in most cases, folks are the same way, that they're just like, if you can solve my problem, I'm willing to pay. That has value for me. And so it's not about price competition. So that's, the approach I take with everyone, and with, someone who's, software development. It starts with that. Now it's about the offer. What is your offer? Well, your offer, there's two things that people need to understand from kind of a buying market. First and foremost, there's only about 1% of folks out there who are ready to buy right now. Most people are not looking to buy whatever you're selling. I don't care what it is. Most people are not buying right now. I don't know what your personal situation is. I'm not going to the grocery store today. I'm not going tomorrow. Millions and billions of people aren't going to the grocery store today or tomorrow. So if I'm a grocery store owner, if they were advertising to me, I'm ignoring it. I have no use for it. So why are you talking to me? And if I could be more efficient with that communication, I would only talk to those folks who right now, today, are thinking about coming to buy. Okay, we haven't created that technology yet. So, but one of the things that, we want to do is to understand who that target is and craft the message for them who are ready to buy, but also, and that's an offer we're going to have if you're ready to buy, but also have an offer for the 99% of the other folks who aren't going to buy. And the offer has to be what I call my Godfather offer for those movie fans out there who know the classic Godfather. Make an offer I can't refuse, right? So you always want to have an offer they just can't say no to. If they say no, they're going, why was I such a fool, a putz, for saying no to that? That doesn't make any sense. Well, because there was a scheme. I knew there was a scheme. And everybody you tell that to is going to say, you were stupid. Why didn't you buy? Oh, come on. Give me the guy's number. I'll go. So you want to have an offer like that for both your now buyers, but also for your future buyers. Future buyers are those folks who don't need your stuff right now, but may be interested later, or may be interested given the right circumstances or situation.
Do you think that's realistic? Do you think it's realistic for every single company that exists now to have an offering that nobody else can offer within, the realm of like what businesses are capable of?
I will say, every business. Is it possible for every business? I want to say yes, because each of us is unique, right? So
But like if
I'm
you
unique,
only have
you're
so many
unique.
needs.
You have a strength, you have a strength, I have a strength. If we start a business, our businesses are going to have strengths and weaknesses as well. And we're going to create these offers based on our strength relative to the resolution of the problem that they're facing.
But
Now,
like,
their
so
problems they're
let's say
facing are going
we're
to be
selling
somewhat,
bread.
what's
Let's say
that?
we're selling bread in a small town, and I love this bread example. I don't know why I keep on bringing it up. Maybe I'm hungry. But say I bake really good baguettes. You bake really good German bread. There's only like a small variety of like breads that we could sell that's someone else's favorite, right? Like people don't like feel that strongly about every single type of
Yeah,
bread
but
in
here's
the
the thing.
food. The
Again, it
competition is
depends on
going
how
to be
you want to
so
compete.
good, but like the audience is going to be so narrow that you're probably not going to be profitable.
I don't know if I would agree with that, but think about this.
Do you see what I'm
It depends on how
saying?
we want to compete, right? So you said I make German bread. You made what kind of bread?
Baguettes.
Baguettes. Okay. So I don't know which specific kind of German bread, but it doesn't matter. Baguettes are
We
usually
just have like
harder.
a really like Germans love their bread. It's like just firmer and like maybe more sourdough-ish.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, a bit
So
fancier.
I could compete based on that German aspect, right? That German tradition, or just for people who like softer, doughier, kind of breads, right? Tired of biting that bread and getting cuts in your mouth. Looking for a bit of the
Mm.
motherland and in your meals and. I can find all kinds of ways to target folks who are interested in my specialty bread.
Yeah, but like
Hey,
not that many people are gonna be interested in German bread. Like if you have a town with like 10 bakeries because everyone loves making their bread, and then suddenly now we're saying like, oh, you all need your own speciality. Maybe they don't have a speciality. Maybe they went into the bread making business because they wanted money, not because they were passionate about this thing, right?
yeah, usually that's going to be a recipe for failure anyway. If you only went in it for money,
Mm.
because you don't have anything that you are really trying to do relative to go back to that pain point conversation. Then again, if you want to make money, both revenue and profits are a reflection of how well you're doing your mission. They are not the objective. They're not the purpose or reason for business. They are a measure of how well you're doing your business. Now, that's my
Mm.
philosophy. That's not a definition that you'll find in a book typically or whatever. But if you have a mission, then how much you're making as revenue and how much you're doing in profits is a measure of how well you're doing that mission, nothing
Mm.
more. If you went into it just to get more revenue and ultimately that's going to be a failure because you're not focused on whose problems you're solving, et cetera, et cetera.
So you're
So
saying in this scenario there just wouldn't be that many varieties of bread places in the first place because
I
there's
would
no
say if
like.
you're going to, yeah, there would still need to be something that you're making it the way that you're making it unique. It could be on
Mm.
if the convenience, because again, I can compete on price, product, or convenience. I can compete on product, meaning the quality of my bread, the variety of choices of my bread, the ingredients that I use in my bread. All of that is competing on product. I have the only bakery that uses all natural, whole organic stuff from top to bottom, and is environmentally conscious and da da da. If you're that environmentally conscious person, you're coming to my shop, right? I could compete. That's a product. But I could have another person who competes on product that says, I've got 15 different tastes and varieties of bread. Nobody else has this kind of variety. If you are like variety, if today you want this kind, pumpernickel, and tomorrow you want rye, and tomorrow you want this, and blah, 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 you got to come to my shop because I got all the varieties. And I have them in small enough packages where you can eat some for today and then boom, not have to waste and go stale and have a different one for tomorrow. Or maybe I compete on service. I cut my breads, in smaller segment. I make them in the loaf, but I give you pieces. You're an end kind of person. You're an end kind of girl. You like the end of the bread. I give that specific to you. Come to my. You like the center cut. Boom. I give that to you. There's all kinds of ways that I can compete that allows me to take what I do best and to solve a problem that you have. So I don't know that I would go all the way to say everyone can. I just haven't found a situation so far that they can't. So
I feel
I'm
like this
sure
is
there's
kind of
some.
leading, if we had more time, this would lead on to a conversation about like whether if everyone is able to work a job that they truly want to work, and like if not, just be an artist and get paid by the government, like having kind of a communist, a very like Marxist, classical, like communist kind of structure within society, because that's like the idea that everyone, if they just did what they wanted to do and they all got paid the same, then we would all kind of just fit into our like happy little slots within society. Do you see what I mean? I feel like if we
Well,
have the
first,
time, that's
everyone doesn't want to be a business owner, right?
yeah.
Everyone doesn't want to do that because
Well, I mean, I
it
was
goes
listening
back
to
to
a podcast
personality.
today with this guy who, when he was younger, he like was watching a bin man every day, and like the bin man would be like riding on the back of his truck with like one hand holding the bar and his hair was like flowing back, and he would like say hi to the kid every day, and the kid was like, that's so cool, this guy's just like able to ride on the back of this van every day and he's like cruising, he's just saying hi to everyone. I want that job when I grow older. And like as he grew older, he like obviously learned more about the economy and all that kind of stuff, but he still chose to be a bin man, and he's a bin man now. But I feel like so many people give up on their dreams because it's not seen as profitable, or if it's not seen as like something that is like high class or whatever. But like if everyone got paid the same amount and culturally there was no differences between the jobs, I reckon people would have enough spaces to fit into society where they're like all super happy.
So
Based on
I'm going to give you
purely
two
like
perspectives on that.
imagination.
Yeah, I'm going to use two perspectives on that. One is philosophical, and one is real life. So the philosophical says, look, success isn't about how much money you make. If that were the case, the Elon Musks, the Bezoses would be the most successful people in the world, and I wouldn't want to be like either one of them. That's just a personal opinion that I have, right? So my definition of success is the ability to impact others in a positive way. That's my definition. And so everyone can be successful because everyone can impact some other folks in a positive way. The more people that you can impact in the positive way, the more successful that you are. So most of us then would look for, well, how can I impact more and more people, to be more and more successful? So you can do that in any career, in any, form or fashion, having your own business, working for someone else, working as a bin man. And I assume that's the same thing as our garbage or sanitation workers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I
working as a
don't really know what the term is, but like people who like take your trash and like put it on a truck.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you call them sanitation, workers or waste disposal. So, so whether you're being, a bin man or sanitation worker, or whether you're being, a business owner or a restaurateur or whatever, you can be successful because you have the ability to impact others, which means you can be happy and satisfied and self-actualize. That's my philosophical belief. And you will only be truly content if you're doing those things that allow you to be successful, meaning positively impact others. And you're going to be the most content when those things align with your passion and your interest as well, and your whole lifestyle and what you're wanting to have as a lifestyle.
Do you think we'll have a scenario where like 90% of the people would actually, want to be dancers, and there'll be too many dancers, or like 20%, like a extortionate proportion of society want to be like, I don't know, bin men, for example, and like they're not going to have enough roles to fulfill that? Or do you think it's just
because we're all so unique? Because we're all so unique, it's one of those things that says, look, there's a market for what we're going to pay folks, right? Because we say for whatever reason we value this more than that.
Yeah, but I mean, like in this imaginary, like lovely world where everyone gets paid the same.
But that's not the world we live in. So
yeah, but like,
I can't comment. Yeah, I can't comment to that one because like, if you tell me where that place is, then I can tell you how that might work. But for example, you're not going to pay someone as a customer, pay each business the exact same, because you're going to pay one more based on how they solved the problem for you.
But like this, in this scenario, there is no payment. Like we live in a world where we don't need to pay for things. We just like cruise around. And we like
And
just do things because we enjoy it and we want to help people.
so then what's the question then? I'm not sure if I
So
thought it.
the question is, if everyone just did what they wanted to do, regardless of money, money doesn't exist. Do you think everyone would have? Do you think everyone would be in a slot in society that makes them happy, or do you think there's still going to be some people who are forced to do certain jobs just because there's no one that wants to be like, I don't know, a water bottle manufacturer?
Because we're people, we always have a want and a need. And we will fill that want and need ourselves unless we can't. And if we can't, then we will always look to someone else. And we will barter, even if there's no money, we will barter for getting those things based on you having it or the ability to deliver it and me wanting it.
But so
That's
much
how
of our,
we as
I think so much of our want in society is manufactured by capitalism. Like I have,
I might agree with that. I might agree with that.
but then
But
like,
there are certain things. So if you go to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? There are certain emotional needs that we have, but that we're not going to even look at or consider until the foundational ones are met. But once each one of those are met, we start looking for, okay, well now I got that met. I need this. I want that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
yeah, like NFTs are not on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but like where Maslow's hierarchy, where it might slot in is like the social part, right? Is like you get accepted by your friends if you show them that you have this NFT, that you have social clout, you're in the same group as them. So then capitalists like Edward Bernays, like psychoanalysts, who he was like the PR, the father of PR, and he essentially married that psychology of like, oh, I need to tap into your psychology to understand what your desires are, like your subconscious desires, in order to sell it to you in the shop, right? So you don't
Right.
need this product, but you want it. And you don't know why you want it. You want it because you think you need it.
Right. So I would agree with all of that. Maslow. So if we start getting to the NFTs, it's probably more about self-actualization than about a need to belong, because the folks who created it were trying to self-actualize about their ability to build empires and enterprises and have impact and all that other kind of stuff, and they use marketing around you, like, how do I get you to buy this thing then, because don't really need it. Well, I get you to to either fit in or be the first mover. This is going to be the newest thing, the newest currency, and you want to be a part of that, yada 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 yada. Which again goes back to the, hey, if you have a need or a problem that you have that you don't want, or a benefit that you want that you don't have, there will be you will be successful if you can help folks feel that, help people solve that. Going back to these 5 categories and 5 areas, again, it just says I don't know that you get around it, because we are humans. And always have a need. So even a need to belong is fundamental and foundational to us as a human. We want, so we are social animals and like to group. Now, somebody will say, I don't need people. I can be a hermit, off on my own, et cetera, et cetera. Yes, there are individuals who are less of that than others. But in terms of the human experience, we all have a need. Some are foundational and we can't get around: food, shelter, water. Some are higher, need to belong, the need to self-actualize, yada yada yada. But when we have those needs, we're going to look for ways to fill them, and that's where organizations, and others, come into play. If I can't fill them all myself, then I look for, ways that others can help, fill those needs.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm really cautious about the time as well. I just want to ask you kind of going back to our scenario of like, my friend has a really elastic product, blah blah, and then another friend with an inelastic product. I want to like hop back onto that conversation, but I want to see if we can like finish it in 6 minutes. Do you reckon we can do it?
Yes, sure. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, sorry for cutting you short there. So, back to this scenario with the friend with the elastic electronics IT business. So, the advice that you've given is all advice that I think can be applied in everyday life, recession or not. Is there anything specific that people should be doing for elastic businesses during a recession that they wouldn't normally do?
Now I'll go back to the thing I said before about exercise. No, there's nothing that's unique about the recession as a crisis versus these 5 fundamental things, because these things are all about growth. And if you're doing these and you have good structure processes around them, then they will serve you in turbulent waters or in smooth waters. And in fact, in smooth waters, it will allow you to go further faster versus turbulent waters. It allows you to navigate and still go forward, but maybe not as fast as you would be, if the waters were smooth. So that's the spoiler alert that I gave before that just says these things are always important and critical to do for growth and the only ways that businesses grow. And so during the pandemic, there were businesses that grew their profits 60, 70%. And if you want to go look back and see what Amazon did during the pandemic, I think Bezos's wealth doubled, net worth doubled in that time frame. So that was the most turbulent time we had, in our lifetime. But there were still businesses that thrived, through that experience.
Awesome. And with that then, do you think that if it was a more inelastic product, so something that like the bread shop, people always need bread, people always need to eat food, would they need to do anything during a recession that they don't normally need to do? And if not, because I know what your answer is going to be already, is going to be the same answer as before. So in that scenario, if this is a company that doesn't already have these things implemented, where would the first step be for them?
Yeah, so you would do these things, and so yes, you would do the same things. That often the crisis makes you be more resourceful and creative in your thinking. But for an example, an elastic business, and if you were going to look at more leads, you say, well, more leads might be me creating more markets, geographic markets, demographic markets, psychographic markets. So if I'm a grocery store, for example, I might increase my leads, more prospects by geography. Maybe I'm going to do delivery. Maybe I partner with Uber and some other, kind of business to say, hey, I'm going to, start taking orders online and delivering them out to, wherever, 15 minutes away from me. Can you, give me a service that's going to be able to get it there in this amount of time, blah, blah, blah. That's a way of generating more leads, as an example. Geographically, I might go demographics. Maybe I focus on a specific segment. You know what? I'm going to go for the sick, shut in, and elderly, those folks who don't get out much. And I'm going to target them with my marketing and my advertising. So I dominate that segment. Yes, I'm going to get the walker buys and the people who are just in the neighborhood or whatever coming, but maybe I dominate this other market because I'm now going to talk to them specifically about their problem. Difficult getting out, doing your shopping, hate going back up and down the stairs with your heavy bags, can't drive any. I'll do all those kinds of things that, talk to their pain point of not being as mobile, not being as, as accessible, in terms of, their daily lives. And then use that as a way to say, I'm here to solve that. And here's how I'm going to solve that, blah, 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 blah.
Amazing. I think I can summarize all of the advice that you've given into an analogy with a boat. Do you want to hear it out?
I want to hear that one.
Okay. So, say you're the CEO, you're the man who's in control of the sail, you're in control of your boat, you're the captain. Your job is to try and get from A to B as quickly as possible with as, few flaws as possible. If you're a business that is in a survival mindset and you don't do the things that make the boat optimal, then maybe like during the years that you've had the same boat, there's been a few cracks, there's, you know, a tiny little leak somewhere and the paint job's horrible, your oar is like tiny, the wood's cracking, that kind of stuff. But you don't take care of it because you spend your days just doing the operation. You're spending 80% of your energy, 80% of your time just rowing in the same way as always. When a tide hits, or like probably wouldn't be able to survive a tsunami on a little raft, little boat, but like
Some
you
rough
come into
waters. Rough waters come.
rough waters come, i.e. economic crisis. During that time, you're still trying to row, but because you haven't put all of these procedures into play before the rough waters come about, you're going to be the one that's knocked over. You're going to be the one that doesn't get to the point B. So if you see you're heading into rough waters, which is I think where all businesses are in now, we're heading into this recession, then you as the CEO should maybe get someone in who is able to do the 80% of the rowing while you go fix everything else, right? And you want to do that as quickly as possible. It's going to take a lot more energy for you. It's going to be, you know, quite resourceful, quite resource draining in the beginning, but it's all an investment in order for you to survive. Boat B is someone who has always had this thrive mindset. Their boat is like spot on. There's actually two of them in the boat. They understand the importance of having someone who is like doing 80% of the rowing and someone doing the 20% of the sticking, of the repairing of the boat, the maintaining, the making it as optimal as possible. They might even like have motor built. That's how, you know, good they are. And this boat comes into rough waters and they're absolutely fine because this whole time they've been refining the boat so that it thrives in whatever the conditions. How's that?
I'm okay with that. I'm good with that. In the analogy, I could spruce it up a little bit and make the boat maybe a rowboat, and the CEO be the coxswain who's giving the orders and instruction, and I mean, we could spruce it, but generally speaking, yeah, you're capturing the concept that are you prepared or not prepared? Have you been doing these things all along or not? If you're not, it's going to be a little bit tougher to get through, but you're going to have to do the things that these other guys were doing all along. And once you do them, this is the important thing. Once you do them to get through the recession, make sure you created a system and process to keep doing them all along, because the tendency is we get through the storm and we go, whoo, done with that. Now let's go back to business as usual. No, remember that it was a crisis. So things have changed. Things are different. It's not the same way that it was before. People don't look at things the same way. And so you've got to make sure that your business has a process that's going to always allow you to be generating more leads, looking for more markets, looking to repurpose your product, to groups that maybe weren't thinking about it, thinking of ways to add benefits that allows you to have a new segment that you're targeting. Looking for ways to take share away from competitors based on the new features or new marketing that you're doing, et cetera. You may have features that you're not marketing right now that would be perfect for a different segment. Let's tout that. Those are all the things that you can be doing now through a recession, but then you should be doing as a matter of course, a matter of structure, a matter of process, even after going forward, until you decide to sell your business and get another business, and then you make sure those systems are all in place there too.
Awesome. And I think that is a great point to end on. What do you reckon, Sid?
I'm good with that. Yeah. So otherwise we would solve world peace.
I know.
and world hunger.
That wouldn't be very profitable, would it? World peace. If everyone was happy with themselves. Okay, so for the people who are listening and they want to know your details, kind of more about what you do, where do you want to point them to? Is there is there a website? Is there contact details?
Oh, yeah. So anyone who would like, to get challenge any of the things that I've said and have some questions or whatever, or if they would like a free assessment, maybe they run a business and so they'd like a growth assessment, I will provide a free growth assessment for them if they contact me that will generate a 17-page report roadmap of how they can take their business there. And again, that's free. They can do one of three things. They can call me, the international number +1 in the US, 718-791-8707. They can go to my website at www.solutionswithresults.com. Again, that's solutions, plural, with results, plural.com. And on my website, I have a free digital copy of my book on marketing and all these 5 things that we just talked about. I have free training that they can do on both marketing, advertising, sales, on financial, management, and understanding, P&Ls and all that kind of good stuff. As well as ask me a question. They can, ask the expert, ask me the question, and I'll be happy to respond to them within 24 to 48 hours. So those are the 2 of the ways. Third way, they can go to my LinkedIn page and connect with me there. And they can just find me under Sidney Wormsby. That's Sidney, SIDNEY, and Wormsby, WORMSBY. So contact me any one of those ways. Love to hear their questions or problems or concerns, and love to work with anyone that is in need or wants just a free assessment.
And is there any like specific industries that you normally work with, or are you kind of all trades?
I work with any industry, and I have been working with any industry. There are a couple that I target more than others. So manufacturing, dental, medical, offices, retail, restaurants, especially in retail. Those I target more, but I've worked with tech companies. I've worked with kind of personal care, product companies, salons, and barbershops, that kind of stuff. Mom and pops, or larger size. So I'm willing to help anyone who wants, the help, and who's interested in kind of doing the work, because it's their company after all. So if they're interested, want the help, I'm there for anyone who's looking for it.
And any size too?
Any size. So again, I've worked with startups. I just started this past year with a woman who started with 10,000 in revenue, working it as a side hustle, that she's now just about ready to quit her day job because of the growth that she's made in the business. That's only after about 5 months. We'll work with people who are starting up, or people who are, and I have another client that's a $1.5 million janitorial service building business.
Do you say billion?
So, 1.5 million.
Million.
Yeah, not billion. I only work with small and mid-sized companies. I don't work with large companies. I could, but I did that for a career, and I'm done with that. So
I was going to say, I don't know if I can afford to have you on this podcast if you're working with people in the billions. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Sid. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Oh, I enjoyed it tremendously. So look forward to the next time.
Absolutely.